So although we are open for another half an hour, we're still going to go live. See what happens. So we are. I think it'd be fun. People coming in now. Thank you. We are live. Let's see what we got here. Rats. Okay.
Took it. It was all she took it. I teach that to little kids, so it's always fun. Yeah. Getting them to get across the pool for the first time and stuff like that. So.
We got about 5 people in the room so far.
Hey everybody.
All right. We got a few. We'll just for a few. We'll make sure that they can hear you guys good. Looking to see if I still on there. Recognize the names in the list.
I know. I think Reggie was gonna do a shout out for everybody to jump onto the whatnot.
Oh
yeah.
Cool. Good.
Because I told him he was going to be here today. Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we were just talking about how he did some covers for Reggie, so that's awesome. All right. It is 7:30. We got about 7 people in the room.
Yeah. That's good. Not bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
I was coming from Nazareth, and I'm like, I'll take the background.
So we are recording, so try to not swear, curse, so that it can be in the kids friendly and legit. Other than that, we'll give it like 1 more minute. The room's filling up, so that's good.
Oh, you got the original artwork?
I do.
How did you get the? That is a great story. Like when you read, it's a really good story. This is exactly what I told you. I'm gonna go and watch. Okay. And to know the historical fiction suite. Yeah, that was even good. And there's a little bit more too. All right. You need to receive? No. Feedback. Yeah. Fun thing. Thank you, gentlemen. You were very welcome, sir. Right. Good night.
See that? Isn't that awesome? So awesome.
There's like a 3-second delay on the voice.
3 seconds.
Okay, that's not too bad.
So I've turned it down so you guys won't hear it. And you get that echo chamber.
All right. Got some people in the room. All right. So we'll get this started here. John from JAF Comics. I've got Scott here, who is one of our good customers and pretty much did the legwork on this project. And then Uko, who did the cover, which is absolutely amazing. Love the cover. So that's the original art. So we have the original print here, which is just awesome. Here, let's give a nice close up here. If I can. Oh, off the screen. There you go. How cool is that? This is the original art from that. All right. So what we're gonna do, I figured we would just have you sign some books while just chit-chatting, talking. There are signed copies in the Buy It Now section. There are, we're going to auction off some original art pieces that were done literally today while Uko was signing books for customers as they came in the store. These we'll auction these off with a signed copy. Okay. And then, we will, we'll go ahead and you can buy them in the thing, and then we'll auction off some, and then we're going to do some remark books where Uko can draw something on it, and then we'll go ahead and auction those off after he's done drawing. So figure we sign a couple, and then we'll if you guys want to chit chat, and I'll.
So I thought what we might do is start off with just the project in general, so people have an understanding of kind of what went down. So I do some work for Reggie Simmons from Reggie Collects on YouTube, and that's how I met Uko. Uko had done a few exclusives for Reggie for the Gung Ho series, and when I saw his artwork, I definitely follow Uko if you're not on Instagram. It's a fantastic artwork. But when Himcar TAC, HS TAC, reached out to us, we had him into the store for a signing of his Redshift book. He approached us and said, "Hey, I've got a new book, and it's a story about a young samurai." The first artwork I could think of was Uko, because his ink wash I thought was excellent for the content. He does fantastic artwork, and I thought it fit very well. So we approached Uko and tried to see if he would be interested in the project, which he was, and working with him on it was fantastic. So Uko, we kind of approached you with this, kind of gave you an idea, but we pretty much gave you, sort of full creative freedom with coming up with some designs.
Mhm.
So let me ask you first, what was the story was compelling to you, but what was your thought process for some of the roughs?
Oh, she had some of the roughs here. I forgot about this. Well, the roughs. Well, initially, I think was it you or John wanted the homage.
Yeah. The Wolverine and Kitty Pryde homage.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so that was the initial start of the project, of the preliminaries.
Yep.
Was trying to figure out, you didn't want to like quite do the exact same thing, but something similar. You kind of get that same feel that people can say, "Oh, that was the Wolverine and Kitty Pryde thing." But again, I don't mind that at all. But it's like I couldn't just, Miller did. What did the cover? I forget what did the cover. I can't remember. But this was something new, and after I read the story was really fresh to me, and so so what they get with the preliminary idea of the Kitty Pryde Wolverine cover, then that morphed into the second prelim for that one. Then I was like, I felt I had to go to a different direction, but still kind of keep it, where there is that, the tutor and the student kind of a thing, which I thought was the Wolverine Kitty Pryde premise for that. And so still keeping that in mind, into where, reading the story and having various Zoom calls, with you guys. And then still wanting to keep that sort of hierarchy, between the characters, of, with the girl, with the stick, and still with the samurai with the swords, And so I had various ideas for that to keep the hierarchy. And I wish I had the prelims here. I really did. But anyway, with the prelims, it was where, the samurai was up top and the girl was down below to keep that hierarchy in place, And there was one of the storylines about having like sort of pagoda or something, sort of hut in the background, keeping it, Japanese, kind of have, you get some floral stuff in there, with some of the preliminaries. But again, I loved it. I loved the second set of preliminaries. I think I did like two or three different stage iterations. Yeah. And some of the best ones. I love this one. I love this how it came out. I also love the preliminaries too that I did. So wish like another 2 or 3 covers of those. But oh well.
Well, the neat thing was, I think that was also captivating, that we found out during our calls, that this is actually a historical fiction story. So it is based, there is some historical facts that's based on this story, of the character of Hitomi, and that story is true. So I thought it was excellent the way that you captured everything. And kind of looking at the artwork myself. I'm a black and white guy. I love the ink wash, the black and white. But the color came, the colors that you chose and everything were very, very striking to make it stand out. Yeah. Now, originally we had wanted the trade dress, which I thought the trade dress would be perfect on that. But this just gives such a good look at your artwork. So let's start a little bit from on your background. how did you start? How did you get into art?
Into art. Oh, geez. Well, I have four older brothers, and they were all artists, you know. And I did have two sisters, and I was the last. I was the baby, right? And so anyway, my four older brothers could draw. Even my sisters could draw, not as well as my brothers could draw, but we could still draw, you know. Um, and so with that, I mean, it was just not in our family, right? So, but I really only like two of us, one of my older brothers and myself, actually went into the field of art. He went into more of the graphic side. I'm more into the comic entertainment, storyboarding side. So that growing up, high school, junior high school, you're like, hey, you're the artist in the high school. You know what I mean? Everybody wants you to do stuff. Doing stuff in the yearbook and whatnot. And so that was cool. Went to college, went to art college in Ohio, Columbus College of Art and Design. Did that, graduated from there. Did my thing, doing freelancing after that, doing various jobs after school. Did the whole bartending thing after school, which was fun. That was a fun job.
Everybody artists got into
bartending.
So stylistically, how did you get into this style?
The style
with the lot.
Oh man, it was just the moment that I had as an artist, and certain artists that I follow have talked about these moments in their career, where they just felt like this had to change, and that's what I felt like, to where what I was doing prior to my change was maybe like 10 years ago or so, well, a good 10 years, I would say. I was enjoying what I was doing, but I felt that there was something missing. You know what I mean? Because I kept doing the same thing, like, man, I love comic art, but trying to do the fine line stuff every single time, it was starting to get boring to me. And so over time, little by little, I kept seeing what I could do differently with that. And so, what I mean, and getting more expressive with what I was doing. Not just, because the fine line stuff is cool, but it wasn't as expressive as what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Today you have like lines going everywhere, throwing a splatter. You know what I mean? And so kind of giving it some image. You know what I mean? 'Cause when you feel a piece, when you're working through a piece, there's a certain energy that you want to convey with that. You know what I mean? And just free flowing.
Well, I see a lot of when I look at your artwork, I think of Bill Sienkiewicz, David Mack. Sort of that sort of stylistically. I mean, Sienkiewicz has a lot of crazy stuff going on. But again, it's the colors that you choose. Looking at some of your artwork on Instagram and things like that. It's that motion, that energy that you bring to it. So I thought that was excellent. And then again, working with you on the Reggie's project with Gung Ho, and then turning that artwork into the comic to go box, and everything else.
Are you doing?
Yeah, I did the layout on the box and everything. Okay. So yeah, that was. But it was taking your artwork and kind of fitting it to that template. I thought it was pretty cool. So, and this, I mean, like I said, this project was just an easy, iterative process that was so nice to work with you on. John, did you want to?
I'm going to actually start this auction.
Sure.
So this is sign book as well as this print. And this was done literally 4 hours ago while Uko was sitting here in between signing books. So he was making some art prints for us to auction off. So you guys can keep talking. I'm going to start this one off, and we'll see how it goes. All right, let's do.
So I guess one of the questions might be what are some of your favorite characters from the comic standpoint? I mean, I see a lot when I'm looking at some of your artwork. I see a lot of Marvel influence. There's a lot of some DC in there.
Yeah.
But what are some of your favorite characters to do?
Currently?
Yeah.
Just today? Oh, geez. Well, I love doing pretty much any character, right? But I love doing like female characters. Are my favorite. And I love doing characters with like tech. You know what I mean? Like armor or some sort. like Transformers type stuff.
My favorite picture that you have is the one of Magic that you did with the soul sword. That I love that painting. That's like my ultimate favorite painting.
Oh, thanks.
On your site.
Give a shout out to Kapow Schools. They reached out and said,
"Oh, what's up, Kapow?" Yeah.
I'll kind of just jump in with comments I see in here. So go ahead, you guys can keep going.
But yeah, my female characters, I male characters since I learned how to draw. You know what I mean? So I'm actually just getting better at that. But the female characters, when I was growing up, my female characters look like male characters. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, I gotta get better at this. So artists, Michelangelo, Rosetta, artist Soriyama. I don't know if you know Soriyama. Yep. Then him, Larry Stroman was another one that I admired growing up. John Byrne was another favorite. And they all did like really good female characters. Like I'm gonna do that. With what they were doing. And so you get over the years, getting better at the female in that. Sure. So like characters like Magic. I love doing Magic. She's I get requested by I get requested quite a bit to do her. Magic, Harley Quinn, I like because of her personality. Sure. She's very expressive.
Electra, you have an excellent Electra.
Yeah,
Electra series that I've seen.
Electra, Storm. I love doing Storm.
Oh yeah.
Jean Grey's a favorite. Whether the Marvel Girl version or Phoenix version. Wonder Woman. Can't go wrong with Wonder Woman. And what else is there?
Now, is there a character that you maybe haven't done or that you're sitting there going, I really want to try something new with this one that you haven't done or one that a project that you'd love to do?
A project wise? I've been getting into a lot of Universal Monsters.
Oh yeah,
right.
Okay.
It's a far cry from what I'm doing, but over the years, as I think about things and compare it to what I'm doing now, art-wise, stylistically, it's like, oh, they'd be perfect for me to get into. I've always, I've done them over the years periodically, you know what I mean? But now I feel like I can really get into those characters.
Well, I think that horror genre is really starting to grow because when you have books like Night of the Ghoul, Something is Killing the Children, the popularity of those books, I think that whole genre is growing quite a bit in comics. Nice House on the Lake. Tinian has some stories that are out there right now that are pretty much grabbing everybody's attention.
Yeah.
And some of the other publishers are really starting to grab hold of that horror genre.
Right.
So I mean that definitely could be something on the something for the future.
For sure. So those, it's like this coming year, I want to plan on doing more some Universal Monster work in my portfolio stuff. And but as far as like doing other characters, I love the Fantastic Four. With Fantastic Four and X-Men, my favorite groups.
Yeah.
But I would love to do the Fantastic Four. Because just that whole family dynamic, and technology. And you can just like some crazy stuff with technology, And of course, reading the stuff with Bird and Simonson and other stuff, over the years, I felt like I could really do a good job on that. So,
Well, that was definitely certainly a golden age when you had Byrne doing Fantastic Four, Simonson on Thor.
Yeah.
And Frank Miller doing Daredevil at the time. I mean, you had all those things. But now with you take a look at the whole streaming age and the Marvel universe growing and now with DC maybe getting their stuff together. We'll see.
As we all giggle.
Yeah, hopefully coming up, but a lot of talk of Fantastic Four coming to the MCU and seeing a lot of those things going on.
Yeah.
That could be, some interesting times.
Yeah, and then seeing Alex Ross with his current book.
Yeah.
Of what he just did with the Fantastic Four looks great.
Yeah.
So we're just going to start this auction with the Storm print. And then after that, while they're still talking, I will run this one. He just drew this at the very top. Little pagoda hut of some sort. Pretty awesome. So we'll run this one after. Keep going, guys.
Yeah. So Fantastic Four is my favorite group. That next thing, But yeah, anything with like female characters though, I Silent, What else is there? Whoever.
We were all joking about Jubilee the other day.
Jubilee,
I feel like she gets no love.
Dazzler.
Dazzler was another one we were talking about.
The current X-Men line right now. I gotta say, I really enjoyed Hickman's run so far.
Yeah,
he certainly breathed a lot of life into some of those mutants that you completely, the laughable gold balls. But now he has purpose. Those gold balls are used for the resurrection protocol. For the mutants. So it's kind of neat that whatever you get, you get a good writer that says, let's turn this into something that's useful. You can take something that's hilarious and turn it into something good. So.
So we're going to do this one now. We'll run this one. So signed cover with a little remark on it. Super cool. Super cool.
So now the cool thing is, I think, this year, really the cons opened up, certainly more than last year.
Yeah.
I know you've done 4 or 5 different cons this year. Pretty much had a full schedule from
March until Baltimore Con until this past weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably 15 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. It was kind of, because they were all bunched in this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to find their schedule. And hopefully looks like next year they're going back to a somewhat regular schedule.
Yeah.
For shows. But this year, everything was kind of like bunched in, and it was like constant travel.
Yeah.
Like big show. It's like going from one coast to the next, 1 week after the other.
Well, you've been off for 2 years, right? That's how everyone feels.
Yeah.
Right? You guys have been off for 2 years. Get on the road, get moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was, plus I drive too. Out of all the shows I've done this year, I've only flown one. And that was to Emerald City.
Okay.
Yeah. And I took the train to San Diego.
Okay.
Which was fun.
I was gonna say, how was that? Was that good?
Yeah, it was fun, man. Yeah, it was nice. I haven't ridden a train since I was like 10.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool. That'd be a nice train ride. Does it go right down the coast?
Well, I took the train from Cleveland, and that took you to L.A.
Oh, okay.
And from L.A. to San Diego was a long road.
Well, I thought you were going from Emerald City to San Diego.
No, Emerald City. Yeah.
The time.
Yeah, Emerald City was in September.
Okay. That's right.
August.
Okay.
And it was like a few weeks after San Diego.
Okay.
But yeah, I took the train from Cleveland. That went through the states, like Mexico, Illinois. What parts of whatever parts.
It's through Iowa.
Yeah.
All that wide open country.
Yeah. New Mexico went to. Yeah. So anyway, ended up to LA and took the train down to San Diego, which is beautiful. Seeing the coastline, beaches and everything.
Nice. Stationed in San Diego.
Oh man, it's nice. Yeah.
Can't get any more perfect weather than San Diego.
No, man, it was like 70, 72, 75 degrees all week long.
How was Emerald City Con? Was that?
It was amazing.
It's one that I've always wanted to get to
Yeah.
because it's not the size of San Diego or New York, but
Yeah.
it's probably up there.
Size wise, it's not that big of a floor plan.
Okay.
They got like other rooms for like panels and whatnot, stuff like that. But the art floor itself, it's not that big, But it was amazing. The people just showed up. I found that it was a very art centric city.
That part of that part of the country,
and just people were just like into the whole art vibe. You can see it around the city.
Yeah.
Especially all that stuff came to the show. You know what I mean?
That's really cool.
Everybody was excited. So, yeah.
All right, we're gonna run this one now. He's doing an amazing job trying to draw, talk at the same time,
which is hard for me to do.
So yeah, I move my hands too, so it's all good. So we'll run this one as well. That one's really cool. This is working out. This actually works out perfect.
Yeah, because usually when I try to draw and talk, I'm kind of quiet when I draw. I mean, someone's starting to ask me questions. Sometimes my mind is not quite there to really talk. But this is fun.
I know on the creative side, I always say whenever I'm doing layout and because I'm more on the graphic design side, I always have to have music or something playing, especially when I'm doing something big project, kind of storyboarding or getting a soundtrack to it. So
right.
So what's your method of what's your muse?
It's music, like you, man. You gotta have music. Maybe once in a while I watch, stuff on my computer. If there's something I want to watch while I'm working, something else that's not too distracting where I have to keep looking at it.
Sure.
Like I don't mind dub movies or not really dub movies, but even with captions on it, subtitles. You know what I mean? I can't watch those when I'm working, but something I want to watch is not too distracting. I have to keep looking at it. I can listen to. Outside of that, it's mainly music. You know what I mean? Not listening to like, in a sense, some sort of news on the radio. I'm listening to music.
And that's why I'm the boring one off camera, because I like silence.
Yeah.
When I'm focused and working on something, whether it's doing something website related, it's got silence, and I work my best and at the fastest.
Oh, my wife goes crazy. She's like, "How can you sit outside doing something and have music playing?" I'm like, I gotta have something. Yeah, I have to have something that I like to soundtrack my life.
Mm-hmm. So, no, that's cool, and that gives you the memory, right? You hear that song again, you're like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, there's certain songs that will remind me of when I was in the Navy and overseas. I can't listen to Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning without thinking of being in the Persian Gulf, standing on the back of my ship, looking out over the sea in the middle of the night because on watch. We blast that song really.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, which is nice. I have a studio, like in Columbus, and it's nice that by the time evening comes around, dinner time, everybody's gone.
Yeah,
so I just like
just crank it up and go. That's awesome.
Get in the mood.
Yeah, that's cool. This one's really cool. This is my favorite one so far. There's this one. Very cool. See, now we should have had you do these while we were at the CGC booth, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we could have done a couple of these. CGCs would have been really cool. So we'll throw this one up there, see if anyone's interested. All right. Running them like 1 minute long auctions.
That's cool.
Gives people enough time to look. Guys, if also don't forget, we have the sign books in the buy it now. And then actually, did you want to talk about these masterpieces? Talk about them just for a minute.
Well, sure. Every year I like to produce art books, and so and every once in a while, there's enough artwork where I produce two, throughout the year. As when you start putting the work together and the pages together, and you're getting up to like, page 35, 40, 50, like, there's not enough time to do one big book for a printer in a short span of time. So I just ended up doing two, and so, so I did two this year. Even I did two. Oh, I did one last year because it was a very shortened season for convention season. But I did two in 2019. And so this year was two books, and it was you know, with each year that I do a book, I try to have a theme, you know, a title, kind of a thing, how I felt throughout that particular year, you know. And this particular one this year, anyway, a friend out of lives in New York, Connecticut. His name is Andre. I can give a shout out to Andre.
Yeah.
Lukinoff. His name is in the book, and I'll explain why. His name is here, a little blurb for him, Andre. I went to a show in Connecticut, and Andre, he was like, "Yo, what's by my table? I'm here on the East Coast for a show." And so we kept talking. He's like, "Man, your stuff is messy and this and that, you know, but it's a good mess, you know." And so he started calling them a masterpiece. Masterpiece. He started calling them a masterpiece, you know. And I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." This was like a year ago in Connecticut for a terrific comic. Yeah. Right. And I was like, I might use that. And this year I ran through a bunch of names, you know, of how I was feeling this past year, you know, and that one just kind of stuck, you know, the masterpiece, you know. That's cool. Yeah. And so even next year I may just start titling the masterpiece. You know, because I think that's your thing. Yeah. I would take it. Trademark it. There you go. Yeah. So now these are all commissions that you've done this year? Yeah, these are mainly commission work. You know, because I rarely get to, unless it's some personal stuff of my own. I don't put a lot of my own personal stuff in here because that's for another time. You know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these are all commissions, from the prelim work to the finished work. You know, and I could have done like 2 more books this year, really, from the last year and a half or so. But you know, I plan on doing 2 for next year. And are these available on your? These are available on my Etsy. Okay. Yeah. Get to my Etsy through my Instagram site.
And then we posted them up in the Buy It Now section right now. So if you guys want one, we will ship it right from JAF Comics to you. So they're available out there as well. These are pretty cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, this stuff is awesome. Where it's just the sketch, right? You see all the line work that goes into it first.
Yep. Yeah, I've always loved art books, man. You know, obviously growing up, my brothers had the Frazetta books. You know, those early Frazetta books. Those were my first encounter with him. You know, and ever since then, I've always been collecting art books from other artists throughout our shows, and you know, and I just love them. So it was a way for me to learn. Yeah, picking up other people's art books, and so this is my way. You know, and so I just love putting books. I love books anyway. Yeah, art books. If you see my studio, it's a bunch of books. You know, art books from other artists. Same here. I got tons of stuff that I use as either reference or you know, something that spurs my idea. So, so here's a question. So I went to art school. Yeah. And so for some of the creatives that are out there or struggling creatives, I know that possibly one of the biggest pieces of advice that I got in art school was that I had a friend, and he always said, draw from life. Yeah, draw from life. Always have a sketchbook with you or a notebook with you, and when you're sitting in traffic, do a sketch. When you do a sketch while you're sitting at a red light, a quick sketch, fast sketch, because then when you're trying to, the first couple times you're going to struggle to get it done, right? But then after you do it a couple times, it becomes second nature, and you will get better connection with your line work, and getting your perspective down and things like that. And I always held that, you know, from that professor, that drawing from life will teach you more than anything else. What advice would you have for, you know, some emerging young artists that are out or emerging? You know, it's really good advice. You know, and I remember reading out of a Frazetta book. The exact same, you know, when we're trying to make our stuff, you know, it's you know, And so, yeah, drawing from life. And my thing is, I love anatomy. Right? So being able to take anatomy classes where you get a class with live models is always great. And perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think with perspective, it helps you see the world. And once you get a good knowledge of working knowledge of perspective and how it works, you get better at shapes. If you put all these little things together, you can pretty much do anything you want. This is what I used to tell my students. Learn those things. There's nothing that nobody can tell you that you can't do.
And then experiment with style.
Experiment, exactly. Which is what a lot of my former students had, issues with, because they, like, experiment. What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, just different materials, different media, throw stuff around. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that some of them are hard to get used to.
Sure.
When you do that more consistently, they start getting better at it. Then you start getting a better feel for what you want to do. As opposed to trying to like copy something else that you grew up with. And so that's pretty much what I told students.
I had that same professor. He would have us paint with a stick, a sponge, a toothbrush. Just to get, see that different things produce different results. So that you can have a working knowledge of all these different textures that you can create with different things, not just a pen, a pencil, a paintbrush. There's so many different things that can create and add energy or add something to that painting.
Right. Yeah. There was some. I remember when I was in college as a student, professor would tell me, that I didn't quite understand at the time. But yeah, as you grow up and start learning more about yourself and what you do, they were. But again, as a student, sometimes you don't want to listen to that. You know what I mean? So, but it takes time.
Oh, I definitely look back and say, yeah, I was giving him a hard time for it. I learned a lot, afterwards. So, and then, going into, I was in the print industry for 20 some years. So learning and seeing the production side, I also saw how difficult some of my designs were. Saying, now I look at it and say, okay, well, how am I going to produce that? Because produce it may also change how you create it.
Right.
So,
yeah, and speaking of which, my older brother was on the graphic side. So I would learn like a lot of things on the print production from him.
Sure.
Because I love books, and I've always wanted to put my own books together. Just learning from him and on the side and things like that. And so that I find that because starting out, I wanted to, especially when it came to doing shows, I didn't want to just have just my artwork, and so it felt like very one dimensional with just my artwork there. So just doing like other things that goes along with you doing original art pieces there. So just putting books together, was the next logical thing because I love books. And so why not do it? And so with that, so I try to produce as many books as I can throughout the year. I forget how many sketchbooks I have at the moment. I think I started doing them in like 2002 was my very first art book. I think it was. After years of just having original artwork or maybe prints. 2000, around that time, 2000 or so, I started producing art books. First the little ash can size, which was the thing at the time.
Sure.
And then now, magazine size, and hopefully want to go bigger on occasion. For various art.
Probably get away with
the Treasury edition
17, the 11 by 17 or something like that.
Yeah. So I just love seeing my artwork on people's walls. And they send me pictures of it framed and things like that. And so it's always cool to see. It's a good feeling. It lets you know that feels like you're doing something good, doing something right.
Right.
Certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, and even when we were talking earlier, like that style change.
Yeah.
There was a point where, where I wasn't quite sure if I was doing the right thing, right? Because you had certain people that like to work to that point, and you're like, all right, well, now your work is changing, and you're like, oh, am I going to lose people? Kind of a thing.
Sure.
I'm like, I'll take a chance.
But as an artist, I mean, you have to evolve, right?
Exactly.
You can't have the same, because again, it becomes old, it becomes boring.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to bring that energy to it, because I mean, I can look at a Peach Momoko cover and I know it's a Peach Momoko cover because you can tell by her style and the way that she does it.
Right.
But you can see that she's evolving as an artist. Every artist needs to evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you see from the very early Alex Rosses to the Alex Ross that you see today,
Right.
totally different. Some of the early stuff is totally different than what you have right now. So
Yeah. So I'm very happy, with where I'm at and how my style has changed over these last 10 years. Sometimes it even surprises me what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Before it was so predictable.
yeah.
But now I surprise myself at times, as to
Those happy mistakes.
Yeah, those happy mistakes, yeah. And it's like, that's a good feeling, man. And then, because, there's always like once, like in various pieces, art pieces, you can pick out like one spot. I love that particular area.
Wrap up.
Very cool. Yeah.
Everything's coming together. Everything's going together.
All right, we're gonna run this one now. This one's cool. Top corner there, signed. There you go. All right. Okay.
Yeah, man. So it's exciting. It's been an exciting year. And
So no, I know the project that we did, Hitomi was with Image. Well, actually an Image imprint.
Yeah.
But still Image.
Yeah.
And then Gung Ho was
Ablaze.
Yeah. So what other companies have you worked with? Because I know I saw the one.
Now I gotta run through my resume now.
So let's go to the. Don't have to run through the question is more like, have you found working with? I mean, I wouldn't even call Image independent anymore. They're one of the big three. So Marvel, DC, Image. Everybody knows those. I would put up each one of those on sort of equal footing. Independents, notoriously, you hear a lot of different things, but working with all those different types of companies, there's pluses and minuses with everything. So in your experience, what have you found? What do you find easier to work with? Does it come down to working with the project or the company, or what do you
it kind of comes, it can go either way, but if it's a project, then I can really get into it. For instance, like with Hitomi, like I said, I love like Japanese type stories. I love, swords. I love swords. I've got some at home. You know what I'm saying? So so I was looking at, I didn't buy any this weekend in Baltimore, but I was really thinking about it. Like, I don't need any more swords.
have a lot of reference material?
Yeah. And so just after reading the first issue, and the story just jumped out at me. And so with that in mind, that really helped put the energy into the piece. You know what I mean? So even with like the prelim stuff, I was really excited about the prelim because I read the story.
And Image was pretty much open with, when we said, here, this is what we're going to do, they were like, cool. Because Himcar was part of the discussions right at the beginning. HS. Yeah. He was part of the initial discussions, and he was on board with everything. We certainly wanted him part of the process. He's the writer, so I certainly wanted him to be approve of what what we were the ideas that we were coming up with. But again, I thought it was a pretty good process to go through.
Yeah, it's always great talking to you guys online.
I think everyone was open.
Mhm.
It was like, let's just do something cool, something fun, and we've already experienced with one of the other publishers. You just pick one of their art pieces, and to me, this was the fun of it, right? Was to go through and have Zoom calls and talk about the different, the different sketches and what we liked, what we didn't like. So I feel like you lose that if it's just, hey, pick one of these art pieces.
I thought, the iterative process is the best because you're sharing ideas and coming up with something that everybody's happy about.
Yeah.
But if it's just picking this cover, that cover, that cover, it kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some covers I've done where it was, they were cool to do. I just like working, but it was like, can do it. Someone said, hey, all right, do that. It's already been done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the excitement is not that quite big.
Yeah. It's just a job. It's not a fun project to work on.
Yeah. I mean, I got a mind.
Yeah.
So that, those type of projects, I mean, they're fine. It's work, but it doesn't necessarily get me excited when someone says, this copy that.
Right.
Okay. So,
Well, that's what I guess our thought was to be open and let an artist do their job and what they're good at. And I think that was what made this just as fun. Was go ahead, let's see what you come up with. You came up with 4 completely different drawings that were all completely different.
I can't really decide. I don't know. Can we do all 4? I don't know.
It gets a little pricey.
Yeah. So, and that's good. That's what I want you to think.
Oh yeah.
Like
can we do all of them?
And then it's like, well, now I feel bad. Like I gotta pick one. Like because you have so much passion behind everything you've done. So it was like, now I feel bad telling them I like this one over that one. And it was like, oh man, well, I'm just gonna say it. Hopefully, he doesn't get mad about it. But no, it was a good process.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, I was kind of hoping. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, as an artist, you gotta have thick skin and not take it personal.
Yeah, exactly.
You say, okay, I threw some ideas out there. If a couple of them don't stick, but we were like, let's take a piece of this and a piece of that, and we put it together, and now we have something. Like you said, you look at one part of that picture and you go, I really like that.
Yeah.
Let's incorporate that into this idea. And again, that iterative process of coming up with something that really works.
Right. Yeah. So it was exciting for me. So I think there was like one cover I was kind of hoping for. If you remember it, where it was, samurai was up the stairs.
Steps,
It had like little floral trees and stuff.
That was why I felt bad, because you were all about that cover. Like you were, and I was like, man, I feel bad because I do like the other one better, but he loves this cover. Like I wish I could afford to do 2 covers because I do it because you were all about that cover. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
This one just struck me more.
Yeah. I mean, you were calling the shots, man. So.
Yeah, well. Good night. But it was still, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a process.
Yeah. Now a lot of your artwork, you start off with the pencils and ink. Now, are you doing a lot more digital, or do you still do a lot more traditional? I mean, I see a lot of some of the Instagram videos. You're showing your painting and things like that.
Yeah.
When you're doing the painting, do you kind of run through some ideas or color ideas and things like that digitally first before you come up with that finished product, or how do you do that process?
Same way I did with you guys. Just pencil prelims, sketches. If there's time, because I'm kind of like bombarded with a lot of pieces.
Sure.
Lately, you know what I mean. So I'll do just a quick marker sketch of how I want lights and darks.
Sure.
I rarely do. If I do a really good prelim, it'll be like warms, cool and warm, gray tones. With that, it gives you a better idea. It gives you a better roadmap. Where I want to go. But sometimes though, that can like get me stuck. Sometimes if I do like a really tight prelim, and then it's like sometimes I don't want to.
No room for movement.
Yeah, and once I get to the final.
Yeah.
So lately, I've just been limiting what I do with my prelims.
Gotcha.
So that when I start working on the final, you know what I mean? There are some new exciting things as opposed to just copying what I was doing in the prelim.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that way I can, you kind of always kind of like go back and forth with how you work. There's a consistency, but sometimes, certain days, whatever, you're like, I'll limit what I do here. So that way when I do the final things, it's more fresh, Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, so I don't do a lot of, I do digital coloring,
Yeah.
but as far as digital drawing, it's not for me.
Still the traditional.
Yeah. I mean, I tried digital drawing, attempted it and whatnot. It's okay. It's just not for me. Trying to figure out the pressure points and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
It's not for me.
I still like holding a pen, pen or pencil in my hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, plus I don't want to, sit there and look at the screen while I'm drawing. You know what I mean? All that stuff.
Yep.
So just drawing traditionally works for me. Excellent. Yeah.
Cool. We got about 10 more minutes we'll run. I'll do this one next. We'll throw this one up there with the remark with this print. Very cool. Done today. So we'll run this one and then if you want to even just sign a few more so that we have some extra signed.
Yeah.
And and then just so everyone knows, we will have the CGC ones, so reach out to us. CGC ones should be back probably about 10 days, 10 to 15 days.
Have them up on the website.
They're up on the website. Just reach out even through Facebook, Instagram, any of those, and we can tell you how to get them.
And those are double signed.
They are signed. Yes, they are. The ones we had done by CGC were signed by both HS Tech, the writer, and Uko, and they were witnessed at the CGC booth. So you can go up on, I think, on our YouTube channel and watch the quick short. I did a little video of it, which was pretty cool. We had them all laid out. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That whole way that thing all played out was just super cool. HS was all about just do it. Like, I like to plan things out a little bit more and not be so fly by the seat of your pants sometimes. And he was like, "Oh, we'll be fine. We'll just go there." And so like we just went. Like, it wasn't we didn't get a reservation to meet with those guys. We just showed up and it was early. It was like 11:30.
Yeah.
We showed up and we're like, "Hey, got the writer, got the artist here. Can you guys witness the signature?" "Oh yeah, no problem." They had no problem. We laid them all out, and then these guys went through and just signed away, and they filled out the paperwork, took them right there. So
excellent.
I always thought that process was going to be really difficult, and you just assume it's going to be.
When you have everybody there. Yes. So we're getting a CGC signatory here. Yeah, that's going to be when you get one of those facilitators or something like that has to witness. I think it's a little bit harder on site than it is at a con.
So my theory is we just need to plan around Baltimore Con every year, because that just worked. I mean, we just hopped in there, and that was just super easy. We were all there at the same time, so that was really cool. And we were there for the retailer summit for Diamond, which was so cool. Got to see Frank Miller and listen to Dan Didio talk about his publishing and all that stuff outside of having DC over his shoulder.
Yeah.
So he was real.
Where is he at now?
He's Frank Miller Publishing.
Oh, really?
So Frank Miller's they're their own, and he's part of that whole.
So he has Ronin 2, the sequel to the 80s Ronin run that he did, which is one of my absolute favorite stories.
No, so good. Yeah.
And he finally came out with a sequel to that. Mm-hmm. And then they also have another one called Ancient Enemies, I think, that also released under that title.
Okay.
He had an ash can that came out not too long ago.
Yeah, I think it was someone in Baltimore too.
Yeah,
I saw someone carrying those books around.
Yeah. So that they have a couple titles that are coming out on those, and like I said, I mean, I've always been a huge Ronin fan. I love that story.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just such a cool idea. And I remember being, a kid in the '80s, just going,
Yeah.
So now to see something that, the backside of that story, the sequel to it, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, they were interesting on stage together.
Yeah.
They were Frank Miller's a very low key, quiet, kind of reserved person, but has a little snarky to him. Dan is very loud and boisterous. But like I said, the thing that caught me the most was some of the things he had to say were all things that he obviously weren't allowed to say when he was with DC.
Oh, yeah.
He was kind of mocking the let's make 5,000 covers of a book, and because we're selling as many books as possible, which doing the math, it makes sense. I get it. But people's wallets, it's not always the best because people have that impulse, especially in this world, that I got to have them all. Right. Well, if you make 20 covers, they feel like they got to have them all. Yeah. You make one, that's it. Right.
Yeah. And now you don't have just the variants. Now you have the incentive covers.
Yes.
Which, I mean, let's face it, when you're looking at the 1 in 1,000 of Berserker by Boom Studios, signed by Keanu Reeves, yes, that would be awesome to have, but not the regular, comic collector in their price range.
Right, right.
So I think they kind of shoot themselves in the foot in that regard, because they're not doing the service to the collector as much. At least the common collector. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that one because I talked to a guy that ordered 20,000 of that book,
a Berserker,
in order to get 20 copies of the one in 1,000.
Retailer?
A retailer.
Oh, wow.
And I won't go into too much detail.
Yeah.
This guy didn't, he told us the story at the show, and I was like, oh my gosh! But it turned out that he returned them all because it was returnable.
Yeah.
So he was able to just return them and keep and then then you keep the 1 in 1,000s. And,
wow.
Essentially, Boom was like, that's kind of really not the way this is supposed to work. Yeah. But we didn't have rules explicitly stating this. So, so he ended up with 20 copies that he sold for $1 gazillion, is what it sounded like. But the story was great, man. Listening to the guy he was telling the story was just hilarious. Like, I would never think to do that. That if you even just forget to miss that date to return 20,000 books, that's a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole lot of money. And what do you do with
20,000 books?
So yeah, that was a pretty funny story.
Yeah, for Halloween, you put a long box of Berserker.
Yeah, pretty much. Here, everyone take one.
No candy this year, kids. Take a book.
That's so funny. All right, we're going to run this Hitomi number 1 with Remark. I'm actually typing this in at the moment, and print. So we'll do this one and get this one going. We got about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to call it a night, because I can say that, Yuko's been here since 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock-ish. So the guy's probably exhausted. And listen, I mean, we appreciate you being out here. This was a lot of fun, and it just worked out that you were at Baltimore at that time, and we're not that far, and we're kind of on your way back your direction. Just a little detour.
Yeah, small detour.
But this has just been so much fun. Yeah. We've really, really enjoyed doing this. And
so what do you have coming up next? Anything coming up in the near future?
In the near future?
A little rest now that the con season's winding down.
A little rest, not too much, because I've got commissions to finish.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you have a stack of commissions from the summer show.
Oh yeah. Each show has gathered 1 or 2 pieces that I need to finish and mail back and everything. Now people are cool with it for the most part. That just regular commission stuff I got to get done. I by the end of the year, I want to get done. Besides that, I've got my creative stuff I've been working on, and some stories along the line with a few other people that are in there.
In the works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll
And
see.
maybe, hopefully, Conan book through Titan.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to hear back from the guy from Titan. If he happens to hear this or watch this video, hook me up. Let's go.
There you go. Love me some Conan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that fits your genre pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like you would come up with something really, really cool. So I'm all in on Conan if the timing works.
So let me ask you, if we were to get the Conan, would you want the cover based off the story, or would you want to just like want to do your own thing?
Honestly, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't care either way.
Yeah.
Like if you read the book and went, okay, like I can come up with something off the book, or if there's something you remember reading when you were a kid that you're like, yeah, that's what I remember when I think of Conan.
Yeah.
I'm open for anything. So
I was always a big Conan fan, and you think of those beautiful like Frazetta covers off the Savage Sword of Conan and stuff like that. I mean, there's so much there that I don't know. I would want to. I don't think you'd have to tie it to the story. I think you could just do anything with Conan.
I think so.
Make it awesome.
Yeah, it was for me. I think my first come across Conan were the Treasury editions.
Oh yeah,
all the brothers had the large Treasury editions.
Yep,
those are the ones I remember.
Yeah, so hopefully we can make. I don't know what the timing is on it. The guy at Titan, John, he his presentation, he was hilarious, but that Conan just kind of like popped up and was gone. Everyone was clapping like, cool, Conan's going to be somewhere different.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, I was like, I didn't even know when the timing was. So I'll have to find out, and hopefully the timing works. I want to say it was like February, which that means the timing does work.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to, that I said we definitely want to talk about is I like to do a cover for Phillipsburg Con, and we got to find a book that's releasing around that time frame, and I'd like to do something for that as well. I thought that would be a fun one because I'm all about that show. That's probably one of the best shows around because of the purpose and cause.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's
they do it. They do it at the high school. It's part of the comic book club that's there. That's run by Faith Ronconi. So it's fantastic. They do it as a fundraiser each year, and if you're in the Pennsylvania, sort of this Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York area, it's a fantastic show to go to with a lot of interesting artists and stuff like that. So.
Saturday after Free Comic Book Day is when it is. I think
April, May.
May.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna auction off one of the posters. Yep. The Hitomi poster that you signed. Yeah. We're gonna have it framed and everything, and we're gonna give that to them to auction off in their silent auction. Yeah. That money goes to a wonderful cause. So that's kind of what we were thinking.
Okay.
While we're getting ready to wrap up, does anyone have any questions that they want to ask while we're wrapping up the last minute or two here? See if anyone has any questions. It's actually been kind of quiet in the chat. A lot of people joining in, jumping out, joining in. I can see people, the same names coming back and forth. So all the prints that we have left over will end up, or the ones with the remarks will end up on the site. So we will have those and probably run some of them on our upcoming auctions that we normally do on Thursdays. We're going to get back on track on doing those again on Thursdays. So you also have the ability to pick up either of the masterpiece books in the Buy It Now section. So anyone have any questions before we call it a night? Tomy covers amazing. Thank you, Vital. I appreciate it. We all love it. We think it's phenomenal. I look at some of the covers as I build the new release wall every Tuesday. And since this cover, I think to myself, this is awesome. Like we did something really, really cool. Considering I'm looking at all the covers that I'm putting DC books on the wall and Marvel books, and I'm like, this cover's kind of lame. Like I may not have thought that about it until I worked with you on doing this one and thought like the amount of work that goes into it, and then some of the stuff they're putting out is like, meh. Like, I imagine a lot of it's digitally drawn because it's quick and easy. But this was so much fun. I look at this and think, oh, this is awesome. So So we really appreciate it.
And again, from the project standpoint, thank you again, Uko, because it was just it was a pleasure working with you. You kind of did such a fantastic job in taking our ideas and kind of mixing in your creativity and producing something that, again, I think is probably one of the cooler covers that Hitomi had. I mean, the first issue, I think I have to say, I like ours the best.
Yes, I agree, 100%.
Without a doubt, I like ours the best.
Momoko's was nice, but I still think ours was the best by far, and I say ours because I feel like it was collaborative.
It was.
But yeah, I think it definitely was by far the best.
Yep.
And this series goes 6, I think, 6 issues.
I believe it's it's 5 or 6, 5 or 6 issues,
okay.
and then then it's gonna be done.
So
yeah, I look forward to this series.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Well, cool. I thank you guys very much. That was a lot of fun. I don't think we had any other questions. So, except Pete asking for a raise. Leave it to Captain Pete to throw the last joke in there. I think all your employees need a raise.
Well, Captain Pete, if you were here, doing all the cleanup work and stuff like that, and it would adjust.
That's right. But you had to duck out. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate it. And feel free to
Hitomi covers. Pick them up.
Pick up your Hitomi covers and check out Uko's site, Instagram, Facebook, and all that good stuff. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a good night. Let's see. And we are out. Yeah.